All right, we will call the March 4th meeting of City Council to order. If you're able, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Now pause for a moment of silence. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Baker.
Here.
Bullock.
Here.
Keppel.
Here.
Marks. Rader.
Here.
Schachner.
Here.
Riebig.
Here.
Reading and disposal of the minutes of the regular meeting of council held February 20th, 2024.
Move to dispose of the minutes without a necessity of reading.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And that motion passes. And without objection, I'd like to move item 7 to the top.
Item 7, Resolution 2024-13, a resolution to recognize Ward 1 resident Ron Chung for his outstanding 4-episode run on Jeopardy and for capably representing the city of Lakewood on television's long-running and beloved game show.
Awesome. Well, I'll go ahead and move to adopt.
Second.
Motions are made and seconded, and let's just I'll just pull up the resolution here, and we're delighted to have Mr. Chung and his wife Eva and Holland and Naomi with us tonight. We're excited to be home to such a wonderful Jeopardy champion who really showed off the city well and did a great job representing us. With that, council members, any other comments or discussion that anyone would like to make? Yeah, Councilman Baker.
Yeah, thank you to the Chung family. I know our kids went to daycare together and saw you pick up and drop off. So I know that I certainly watched and was proud, and a lot of my friends were too. So happy to support this, and thank you for coming tonight.
And although it's not in the resolution, you did get robbed on a couple of those questions. I just want to mention that. All right, yeah.
Madam President,
Yes, Councilman Baker.
I just want to congratulate Ron and his whole family. I was talking to Ron at the back. I didn't even know he was a Jeopardy guy. We knew, our families know one another from Sunday school, St. Pat's on Bridge, of all places. And we are, I think, focused on making sure the kids don't take more than their fair share of snacks and getting kids where they're supposed to go. So we'll have to organize a trivia contest at the next chance. But congratulations to all of you.
All right, so we're going to vote on this, and then Chung family, if you'd like to come up with and join us for a picture afterwards, we'd love to present you with a copy of the resolution. All right, so the motion's been made and seconded to adopt. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes. And we'll just gather right down in front here for a picture.
All right, item 1, report from Finance Committee meeting held February 26, 2024.
Vice President Schachner.
Thank you. Colleagues, the Finance Committee met on February 26, discussed Resolution 23-74, Resolution 2024-06, and Ordinance Number 02-2024. First, we discussed 2023-74, which stemmed from Council's recent approval of an increase in the city's bid threshold to mirror the threshold set forth in Ohio Revised Code. Part of this discussion was an agreement, which is articulated in 18-2023 ordinance, that the city's financial internal control policies for contracts or purchase less than $75,000 would be presented to council in the form of resolution. And after review and discussion, the committee moved to recommend adoption of the resolution. And per ordinance 18-2023, those policies outlined in the resolution cannot be changed without separate action of council. Next, we heard a presentation from Director Renkator and Director Gordon regarding Resolution 2024-06, which authorized the administration to enter into lease agreements for a dozen vehicles and equipment totaling $3.5 million. The directors explained how the proposed purchases will meet departmental needs and fit with the capital improvement plan. Director Gordon explained that while the city's fleet of alternative vehicles has increased substantially from 2020 to 2024, challenge remains securing reliable alternative fuel vehicles for public works, fire, and police. And he also highlighted other sustainability initiatives. I will add that someone from Lakewood Police Department did speak as to the use of their hybrid vehicles and found that when they reach certain speeds, sometimes they shut down, and they were found to be unreliable for their purposes and would likely not be using hybrids in the future. And I think we remarked that's something that is important for us to realize, and that we should be focusing our efforts in other places to make up for not being able to use these vehicles in some areas as opposed to others. So the ordinances, we also talked about the quarterly transfers and advances ordinance, and the committee recommended everything that we discussed for adoption. Move to receive and file.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Madam Chair, Madam President,
Yes. Councilman Bullock.
thank you for the great and detailed report, Chairman Schachner. I do want to correct the record, though. Even if that accurately reflects testimony, there's no basis for saying that public safety vehicles can't be fueled reliably by alternative fuel vehicles. You can get plenty of sources, propane, electric, in traditional hybrid. I haven't heard that we've encountered in our 5 or more years of hybrid vehicle use any problems. So I don't think we should be viewing the technology as anything but something that we can solve to be successful with. That's a involved and detailed analysis that needs to be conducted, but you know, the technology doesn't get brought to market to fail, period. So nobody's proposing that the taxpayers invest in a vehicle that can't perform and perform reliably. It's just a matter of matching the capabilities to the duty cycle and understanding the financials. And in fact, alternative fuel vehicles should save the taxpayers money because the maintenance costs and the fuel costs will be lower. So just want to state that emphatically. Thanks.
Any further discussion? Right. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 2, Resolution 2023-74, a resolution to take effect immediately approving the City of Lakewood's financial internal controls.
Move to adopt. Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that, did we get everybody? Yeah. And that motion passes. Keep up, guys.
Item 3, Resolution 2024-06, an ordinance to take effect immediately, authorizing the Director of Finance to enter into equipment leases and forms approved by the Director of Law on behalf of the City of Lakewood.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 4, Ordinance 2, 2024, an ordinance to take effect immediately, authorizing the transfer in advance of certain funds.
You referred this.
Mhm.
Okay, I'll just go ahead and move to adopt. Oh, move to suspend the rules, so we can go ahead and adopt.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Madam Clerk?
Baker?
Yes.
Bullock?
Yes.
Keppel?
Yes.
Marks? Rader?
Yes.
Shackner?
Yes.
Strubig?
Yes.
And now we'll move to adopt.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in, can we do a roll call again? Yeah.
Baker?
Yes.
Bullock?
Yes.
Keppel?
Yes.
Marks? Rader? Shackner?
Yes.
Strubig?
Yes.
Now that motion passes.
Item 5, report from Committee of the Whole held March 4th, 2024.
All right. So colleagues, you were all there, but we met, Committee of the Whole met tonight on March 4th to discuss Resolution 2024-10, a resolution to allocate all unspent funds from the American Rescue Plan Act, funds that were not yet encumbered or contracted for expenditure. Director Leininger provided a detailed report of which specific projects that would include, as well as an overview of how the ARPA guidance has changed to make it in the city's best interest to allocate these remaining funds to water and sewer. That resolution was unanimously recommended out of committee for adoption. Move to receive and file that oral report. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that motion passes.
Item 6, Resolution 2024-10, a resolution to take effect immediately authorizing the mayor and/or director of finance or director of law to allocate all unspent funds from the American Rescue Plan Act and all ARPA funds not yet encumbered or contracted for expenditure for previously identified projects to the city's sewer and water projects for the modernization and construction of the city's water and sewer system.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 8, communication from Planning Director Leininger regarding the former Board of Education building, development agreement for establishment of various incentives at 1456 and 1470 Warren Road.
Director Leininger.
Good evening, Madam President, Keppel, members of City Council. The administration has been working with LDC Warren LTD on the historic rehabilitation and adaptive reuse of the former Board of Education buildings located at 1456 and 1470 Warren Road. This project, collectively referred to as Liberty Common, will preserve and repurpose the former East Rockport and Grant schools into planned office and residential spaces. LDC Warren has requested assistance from the city to close the financial gap identified in the project. This gap is a result of a combination of factors ranging from normal construction and labor, from above normal construction and labor costs, high interest rates, and additional costs related to the adaptive reuse and historic preservation of the existing structures. As such, in addition to funds being awarded through the city's economic development programs, LDC Warren has requested approval of a site-specific 15-year community reinvestment area tax abatement and a 30-year non-school tax increment financing incentive. This request is similar to incentives that have been provided to Barry Buick, Spitzer Chrysler, and Studio West projects, in which the TIF will be subordinate to the tax abatement years 1 through 15, and in effect for years 16 through 30 after the tax abatement has expired. Both a CRA tax abatement and a TIF are incentives that are authorized by the Ohio Revised Code. A CRA tax abatement allows the abatement of taxes generated from improvements to the property. A TIF allows the capture of property taxes generated from improvements that are made to property. These captured property taxes are then used to pay for public or private improvements. In this case, the TIF revenues will be used by LDC Warren to offset or reimburse construction costs. Property taxes generated from a pre-improvement value will continue to be collected and dispersed to the various taxing agencies. It's also important to note that under the Ohio Revised Code, for this type of TIF incentive, the city must enter the chain of property title. This procedural nuance that the city will require that the city enter into and immediately exit as a fee simple title on the applicable parcels to comport with state law. Enactment of these incentives requires the following approvals from City Council: an ordinance authorizing development agreement, an ordinance authorizing transfers of properties to enter and immediately exit the chain of titles for the subject properties, an ordinance establishing the CRA tax abatement incentive, and an ordinance establishing the TIF incentive. This communication is intended to introduce numbers 1 and 2 as noted above. The final legislative items will be submitted to City Council in the coming months and not sooner than the completion of the aforementioned property transfers. The administration respectfully requests these legislative items be referred to the committee deemed appropriate by City Council. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Move to receive and file that communication.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion.
Madam President,
Councilman Bullock.
would be happy to hear this in the Housing Planning Development Committee. If such a motion is made. And I've got a question about the proposal itself, though. Maybe I could raise now for the planning director. So it's good news to hear that the project developer is intending to move forward. I can't recall hearing from the project developer for some many years. Now, here they are seeking very significant financial assistance. So it would be important to understand the plan, the changes to the plan, et cetera, before agreeing to some of the most meaningful financial assistance available in the city's arsenal, so to speak. I can anticipate what you're saying, and I'm following your letter here, and I'm sure the same financial pressures that apply to the Lakewood Hospital redevelopment also apply elsewhere in the city, including here. And this is historic property with the unique physical challenges involved there too. So, approach this with an open mind, but I just haven't heard from. In fact, I over the last few months wondered myself what the heck is going on with this project. So I'd love to not only get a full briefing, maybe talk to the developer directly as well. Thanks.
Director Leininger.
And Councilman Bullock, if you recall, along the way, we've had some updates while sitting up on this from my position, talking about some of the updates that have been happening over the last several years with this project. And you're correct, it's taken a long time to get to this point. I believe the transfer of the properties from the Board of Education to Liberty Development were in 2018 or 2019. Along the way, they've made several attempts to obtain historic tax credit financing from the state of Ohio. The first round was not successful, and then because of how the rules work and how the funds get awarded, they had to bypass a couple of rounds, and so it took some time for them to ultimately take and split the project. We went to Planning Commission, got a lot split, to split the project in 2 separate parcels so they can make themselves more competitive in the historic tax credit financing world. They were also competing at that same time when they were awarded, especially on the Grant School, the southern building, the larger building. They're also competing with another project in Studio West for funds in our community. And that actually reduced some of the amount of funds that they could receive for this project. So along the way, interest rates, all those things that are outlined in the communication have crept up. Construction costs have crept up, not unlike what you've heard us talk about with other projects. And so, yes, the developer will absolutely be available to answer any questions that you have about the project, about the financial gap that's been identified. That's something that anytime we come in front of you and ask for approval of an incentive, we have gone through the numbers. We have verified the numbers, both internally and with third-party assistance, to make sure that the dollars that are being asked of the public are the last dollars that are going into the project. And without a doubt, that's true in this case. So I'm happy to answer any of those questions that you have in committee.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilman Baker.
Yes, and I believe I was on Planning Commission when we designated this historic back in 2018 and 2019. And on one hand, I'm very happy to see these properties be put back into productive reuse. Very happy to see them, that they're going to be, at least I assume, historically restored and in line with all of the guidelines. I would, and I'm sure the Planning Department and the Finance Department is already planning to do this, but like really detailed analyses of the income tax that would be generated by these sites, kind of the 30-year breakdown of, because it's essentially asking for city funding, I mean, in a weird way, city financing So understanding like what our ROI is and what, what we can say is going into the community. And also, and it sounds like Liberty has already given you kind of their pro forma, but understanding like their capital stack and whether the project value, all those things, which I think you've done in the past, as I've watched before I was on council with Studio West 117th and the other Solov projects that got TIFs. But just want to make sure we go through that and that thorough presentation is given to us at committee, because I think it will be very helpful for council to understand all that before we're asked to approve it.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right. So we have a motion and a second to receive and file the communication. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 9, Ordinance 3, 2024, an ordinance authorizing a development agreement with LDC Warren Ltd. LLC in connection with the redevelopment of certain real property in the city of Lakewood as part of the tax increment financing program under Ohio Revised Code.
Move to refer to Housing Planning and Development.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded, and I'll just say I'll probably sit in on that one. I'm interested to hear about that. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And that motion passes.
Item 10, Ordinance 4, 2024, an ordinance to take effect immediately, authorizing the City of Lakewood to accept title to certain real property located within the city and immediately transfer title back to the current owner for the purpose of implementing tax increment finance pursuant to Ohio Revised Code.
Refer to Housing Planning and, move to refer to Housing Planning and Development.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 11, communication from Planning Director Leininger regarding sale of various city-owned properties.
Director Leininger again.
Good evening again, Madam President and members of City Council. Over many years, the city has purchased or otherwise acquired properties for delivery of government services or other public purposes, such as the elimination of blighted structures. As the city continues to evolve, some of these properties no longer serve a public purpose. When this occurs, the properties are returned to private ownership through a competitive sale process. Below is a list of properties that no longer serve the public purpose. Pursuant to Section 11507 of the codified ordinances, the administration is requesting authorization to market the properties for sale, negotiate the best offer, and sell the properties. The deed for 12984 Lake Avenue will be restricted to require owner occupancy of the property for a period of 10 years, compliance with exterior historic preservation requirements, and prohibition of adding additional dwelling units to the property. And I'll just pause for a minute and remind council, this is something that we talked about when we were authorized to purchase that property for a future CSO project as part of our consent decree with the US EPA. The deed for 12518 Clifton Boulevard will be restricted to require owner occupancy of the property for a period of 10 years. This is also consistent with other properties that we've sold, similar properties that we've sold recently. And the 160116 to 16024 and 16021 Madison Avenue properties will be listed by a broker with the development proposals solicited via a competitive process. Note that the neighbor adjacent to the northwest corner of Olive and Delaware Avenues property has expressed an interest in acquiring the property. This is the process by which to make it for sale to the neighbor. As an unbuildable lot, consolidation of the parcels will be required. We respectfully request this item be referred to the committee deemed appropriate by City Council. And I'll note in the ordinance for that last property that I referenced, the northwest corner of Olive and Delaware Avenues, there is specific language in there, unlike the other properties where we would go and solicit the services of a realtor or broker to market and sell the properties. Because that is an unbuildable lot, we would simply, as a city staff, go directly to that owner and work to negotiate a sale with that property owner. Because again, it is an unbuildable lot that's, I believe, 13 feet wide. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Councilman Rader.
Thank you, Madam President. I have a Baker-esque request that actually somebody reached out to me. You know, I look at these, and I know all these properties intimately. Some of them I was here, most of them I was here for when we acquired them, except maybe the Lothar Center and the hospital property. But I know the processes that happen to acquire those, but I don't think everybody does. So I think it would be nice to have a little bit more. This is a great communication, by the way. If you had a little more detail in the spreadsheet where we have the acquired price, the acquired date, just more information about the process going around acquiring this property. I think the public, or at least one individual I'm very acquainted with, will certainly, and myself too, I think it's just good that it's prudent practice to look at what we paid for, and I'm sure you're looking at all this stuff. It'd be good for us to be briefed on that as well. So thank you for your hard work on this, and totally understand the movement here. We're always buying properties for different reasons, and every now and then we have to sort of move forward and do what's best for the highest and best use of this land. So thank you, Madam President.
All right. Yes, Councilman Baker.
Yes, and so this is a question thank you, Madam President, for Director Leininger. So, and I'm assuming we'll get into this into committee, but I'm just curious as the administration's interpretation of this. So, does this legislation authorizes the administration to do what they say they're going to do, get a broker, do competitive process? Would the eventual sale come back before council, or is it the idea that council authorizes and then the administration just sells and then doesn't report back to us? Or, I mean,
So it's the latter. This authorizes us to market, solicit offers, and not necessarily, we don't necessarily sell to the highest offer, we sell to the best offer. So that could include, for example, we had a previous application where a resident wanted to acquire the lot next to them and use it as open space, use it as an extension of their yard, versus someone who may be using it to build. There might be a little bit of a price difference there. So we can accept the best offer. The ordinance allows then the entire transfer to go through, so we'd actually go through the process, soliciting those offers, selling them. It does also then specify that we would then report back to City Council the outcome of that sale, or what was ultimately what transpired through that transaction. And that's consistent with past ordinances that we've had in front of you.
thank you, Madam President. I would be interested in discussing with my council colleagues and the administration, at least on the parcels that have commercial redevelopment opportunities associated with them, that maybe council have a little bit more of a part of knowing what's happening with them. Some of the more residential parcels, I think, would fit with the previous scheme, but I just, something to think about as we go through committee, because I, at least would like updates in the process. I'm speaking a little bit and thinking out loud here, but I do know that, the former Lothar Center and the Hilliard Theater site in particular are, those are major, commercial properties in our city along our commercial corridors that are very high visibility. They're not a home here or there, which are important, but not as much as our commercial corridors as far as at least visibility goes. So just something to think about as a council.
Thank you.
Madam President,
Yes, Councilman Bullock.
I agree with what Councilman Baker just said, and I think, as I recall, the precedent, if you call it a precedent, what I recall we did with the other senior building, or it was formerly owned by Director Barry's department, that another community partner eventually purchased. There was a council member involved in the real estate evaluation committee. So at a minimum, I don't know if that was in an ordinance, but I'd certainly welcome that, because both the Hilliard Theater and the Lothar Center come to mind, and I was the councilman who called in the citation after Hurricane Sandy that led to the Hilliard Theater becoming a vacant parcel, and we've been waiting a long time and want to ensure that we get a thoughtful opportunity in that spot. So anyway, appreciate the fact that we're beginning to move on these properties.
Director Leininger.
And Madam President, Councilman Blow, to that point, you're correct. The ordinance does not specify who would serve on a committee if there is a committee formed, but generally with commercial properties, we have formed a committee that includes a group of stakeholders within City Hall, as well as in incorporating at least the ward member from City Council. That can take lots of different shapes. It doesn't have to be what we've always done in the past. As it pertains to the former Lothar Center, we had previously put out, as you referenced to the other property, to the former Youth Division building, we had previously put out an RFP for both properties and had very, very limited response to those RFPs. It was we then reached out to the real estate community and others to just have a conversation about our RFP process and learn more about why are we not getting any responses back. And they had some very good comments for them, and a lot of it was centered around that RFP process, and suggested that we would get a much broader response, much more favorable response if we were to go out through a broker. Still could have all the committee review and all those other things that we like to include as part of our public process for vetting proposals and the sale of the property, but to do that through a broker process, because that's what the real estate market is generally more in touch with responding to. And that's for a whole variety of uses, whether that's for-profit development, whether it's nonprofit development. We've had a lot of conversations about affordable housing, about mixed income housing. All of that is still possible through a brokerage process. It just gives us better access out into the development world. And that's the reason for why this has been laid out in front of you the way it is. But certainly we can talk about that more in committee.
Thank you. Director Langer, is that 12, the Clifton House, is that the one by the Cove Community Center?
It is.
And I believe there had been some conversation, we had looked at possible uses for that, but it is a beautiful home. But some of we talked also about potential of some of that property being used as part of the Cove property. Has that been considered or looked at all?
It was originally acquired for the purposes of, that is within the parking lot of Cove Community Center is where we envision where CSO 59, where CSO 59 was to be located. We acquired the Clifton property that you referenced to give us additional space in order to accommodate those underground storage tanks. That was the extent of our conversations then, was for those CSO purposes. To your point, it is a beautiful historic home that we acquired, and that because we no longer need it for CSO purposes, the intent is to now save the home and put it back into private ownership as a single-family home, at least for 10 years.
Sure. I guess what I was referring to was more as we were looking at, the parking lot of Cove, and as you pull in behind there and where that shed is being thankfully rebuilt by some students, which was a cool partnership, that there was potential opportunity to take some of that land for that either Cove parking lot or for storage, because I understand the Human Services, is already kind of stretched there to have enough space, but I don't know how that affects, and we can talk about that in committee, but I just, it was just something I was thinking about, but I'm, we certainly would want to preserve that lovely house, so thank you. Okay, so it sounds like we're going to have some good conversations in housing planning and development once we finally get there. So first, I'm going to move to receive and file this communication.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 12, Ordinance 5, 2024, an ordinance to take effect immediately, authorizing and directing the Director of Planning and Development or the mayor to enter into an agreement with a licensed real estate broker to market for sale various real properties pursuant to Section 15507 of the Codified Ordinances.
Move to refer to Housing Planning and Development.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? We do have one person signed in to speak on this, right? Don Heckelmoser, come on up.
There we go. Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Council. I wasn't really planning on speaking today on the agenda item, but I just wanted to come. My name is Don Heckelmoser, for the record. I'm President and CEO of Barton Communities. We are a local owner, manager, and developer of affordable housing. We've been in Lakewood as a nonprofit, Lakewood Senior Citizen, Inc., since about 1958. We own and manage the Westerly Apartments as well as Fedor Manor Apartments here in the city. So specifically, I wanted to talk about the Lawther property. We've had discussions with many in this room, and I've been in this room talking about affordable housing many times over the years. But in this particular case, I just wanted to emphasize that the creation of affordable housing in municipalities like the city of Lakewood, or really anywhere, is very much hindered by market rate sale pricing. And we just wanted to begin advocating for that property to be turned into affordable housing. We're currently partnering with Lakewood Alive to advocate with members of council as well as the mayor's office for that purpose. And we saw this on the agenda today, so I wanted to come and just say a few words about, we think that that particular property is a great opportunity to create affordable housing with a lot of upside to the city, with using very little city resources and still getting a fair purchase price for it. So we look forward to continuing the conversation, but just wanted to sort of put on record that Barton Communities is sort of a homegrown provider and developer of affordable housing, and we look forward to working with the city on this potential project. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, so on the motion to refer to Housing Planning and Development, all those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 13, communication from Planning Director Leininger regarding 2023 Ohio Department of Natural Resources Recreational Trails Storybook Trail Grant.
Director Leininger.
And I think for one final time tonight, Madam President, members of City Council, the above referenced grant was awarded to the City of Lakewood for the creation of a storybook trail at Madison Park as well as Kaufman Park. The grant provides $10,000 for the project and was secured with assistance from our partners at Lakewood Public Library. The city will contribute $7,000, which includes in-kind maintenance, miscellaneous materials, and labor. And the project must be complete by September 30th of this year. This correspondence serves as notice of this grant pursuant to Section 111.14 of the codified ordinances. And Madam President, I mentioned Lakewood Public Library in the grant or in the communication. Just like to restate, appreciate their support in helping us think through this idea. The work working with Chris Gordon and his team in Public Works to help implement it, and also Councilman Bullock was involved along the way, and Councilman Marks. Thank you. So thank you for all your assistance in getting this grant and making this project a reality.
Thank you. Move to receive and file that communication. Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion? Councilwoman Marks.
Thanks, Director Leininger. I'm glad to see that this is finally moving forward. So I'm excited to see the many kids that will be reading through the pathways of Madison Park. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and I'll just note that as a former librarian, this is very exciting to me too, and my husband spent a lot of time raising money for a story walk at his library, so I'm glad to see that that we got a grant. So, all right, so we have a motion to receive and file that communication. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 14, communication from Public Works Director Gordon regarding grant easement to the Cleveland Electrical Illuminating Company for electric power at 12928 Berea Road.
Director Gordon.
Thank you, Madam President. Dear President Keppel and members of Council, submitted for your review is a resolution that will grant the Cleveland Electric Illuminating Company, also known as First Energy Corp., an exclusive easement to a defined strip of land at 12928 Berea Road, also known as the new Refuse and Recycling Center, for the placement and/or relocation of utility poles and overhead wires. This exclusive easement will be located along the eastern property line of the new stockpile yard at the Refuse and Recycling Center. I request that City Council approve and pass the attached resolution on first reading so that the project may proceed. Please let me know if you have any further questions. Thank you.
Move to receive and file that communication. Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion. Councilman Rader.
Thank you. I do believe we've had similar easements in the past. The use of the word exclusive, I believe, was included in those other easements, but just, for my knowledge, is this different than any way from some of the other easements we've had for electric utilities on properties around here?
Thank you, Councilman Rader. Ironically, we had a very similar easement with the illuminating company on the west end of the recycling center, so this is on the other side. Exclusive just means it's an easement specifically for First Energy.
That makes sense. No other questions. Thank you, Madam President.
Any further questions, discussion? None. On the motion to receive and file the communication, all those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 15, Resolution 2024-14, a resolution to take effect immediately, authorizing the Director of Public Works to grant a utility easement to the Cleveland Electric Illuminating Company, governing the rights of the parties relative to a parcel located at 12928 Berea Road, and granting access to the property for the purpose of providing utility service to the facility and ongoing maintenance.
This does seem pretty routine, so I will move to adopt. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 16, communication from Public Works Director Gordon regarding 2024 County Road Preventive Maintenance Reimbursement Program.
Dr. Gordon again.
Thank you again, and thank you, Madam President. Dear President Keppel and members of City Council, the city's Division of Streets and Forestry was awarded $130,858 from the Cuyahoga County Department of Public Works 2024 County Road Preventative Maintenance Reimbursement Program. The Streets Division will use this reimbursement funding to perform crack sealing work on Madison, Riverside, and Warren, and pavement striping on Franklin and Warren Road. As part of the reimbursement program, the county will process only for material costs, and the total reimbursable amount cost for the year 2024 may not exceed $130,858. Pursuant to LCO Section 111.14B, this letter serves as notice of our intention to accept these funds. Please let me know if you have any further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Move to receive and file.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Always appreciate seeking outside funds, and thank you for that. All right. No discussion. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 17, communication from Mayor George regarding appointment to Lakewood Public Art Advisory Board.
Mayor George.
Members of council, I am pleased to announce my appointment of Marissa Razi to the Lakewood Public Art Advisory Board, and I'm thankful for this resident to devote her time to this important board. Thank you.
Thank you. Move to receive and file that communication.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? None. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that motion passes.
Item 18, communication from Fire Chief Dunphy regarding Severe Weather Awareness Week.
Chief Dunphy.
Dear members of council, attached, please find a resolution for your consideration proclaiming March 17th through March 23rd, 2024 as Severe Weather Awareness Week. The Lakewood Fire Department has asked Lakewood City Schools to conduct a tornado drill on Wednesday, March 20th at 9:50 a.m. The City of Lakewood will sound the outdoor early warning siren, and Lakewood Fire Department personnel will observe the drills in many of our schools, as many schools as possible. This will be Lakewood's opportunity to ensure the preparedness of our school system and to test our emergency alert system and other components of our emergency management. In addition, we're raising community awareness and allowing for planning of threats such as tornadoes can result in the saving of lives and prevention of injury. Thank you for your consideration. Chief Dunphy.
Thank you, Chief. Move to receive and file.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 19, Resolution 2024-15, a resolution to take effect immediately proclaiming March 17th through March 23rd, 2024 Severe Weather Awareness Week.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded, and I'll just say thank you to Chief Dunphy and the fire department for this has become a tradition and a good one to be prepared. So they always keeping us ready. So thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 20, liquor notice, Aqua Bar, Lakewood LLC at 13324 Madison Avenue.
I don't think we have this yet, right, Jen? So we're,
Correct. We just got this late last week.
sorry, Assistant
I'll
Director
request an
Fowler.
extension.
All right, so we'll move to defer. Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. And that is deferred. All right, so we are now at public comment. Do we have anyone? Oh, there's one. I'll pull that up. Oh, I did see this. So we do have one e-comment regarding the restrooms in Lakewood Park. And I'll let folks read that. And I'll just let Mr. Fritz know that it is something that certainly is on the minds of council and the administration. So thank you for that e-comment. Okay, and then Mr. Organ signed in to speak. Welcome back.
Hello, thank you. It's been so long that I've been away, so I apologize. Wowzers, did you all see the weather today? It was fantastic. There were so many people out on bikes, so many people out walking around with their dogs, their children, everything. It was great. And yet, I still saw so many people riding their bicycles on the sidewalk. That is indicative that the bicycle infrastructure is not safe for everybody. So what I'm asking, as I always am, is for us to put an emphasis and take action on the bicycle infrastructure here in Lakewood. Tonight, riding, my wife and I, we ride here every week. The intersection that I've brought to so many people's attention, right by Angelo's, always packed, especially when the weather's nice, always packed, and that is always the most dangerous part of our commute here. Cars have to pull through so far in order to see if it's even safe to pull out onto Madison. So they pull through the crosswalk, they pull through the bike lane. Tonight we were almost hit once again. Fortunately, I'm a pretty experienced rider, so we're good there. But you know, a lot of people wouldn't be so quick to react to a car like that. So thank you for taking the time to listen to me. I'll be here again next week. Please take action on the bike lanes. Let's do some curb bump outs. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. No further public comment. So announcements from council members. Yes, Councilman Baker.
Yeah, I'd just like to say that this Wednesday night in Twinsburg, oddly enough, the Lakewood High School boys basketball team will be taking on the St. Ignatius Wildcats in I think it's the regional semifinals. Lakewood they're scrappy. They won at Hudson, or they won a playoff game against Hudson this weekend. And Ignatius is very good, but I'm going to pull for the Rangers, and I hope all of us do. So thanks.
Councilman Bullock.
I want to thank Chief Fisher for help with ensuring access for Grant Elementary parents Wednesday afternoon to a parking snarl when 3rd through 5th graders are going to have a concert for music and band and all kinds of wonderful things. Parents are going to be there, and so appreciate the attention by the Department of Police to help make sure that access isn't snarled. So thank you.
All right. Any further announcements from council? Announcements from the administration? Nope. All right. If no further business, I will move to adjourn. Second. Motions are made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.